Hi! Welcome to Campaigns of the Plains. I'm still not the DM. This is still not a D&D game. This is out of character. And we're discussing more stuff that happened in the campaign so far. On this episode, we're going to be talking about, I would like to call section chunk 2, or Jungle and Runes, where we were trying to get to, I don't remember the name of the city that we were going to, guys.
I forget.
I forgot.
As well.
I can't hear them.
Oh, Sedge.
We've decided to mute Matt and Travis. They've got nothing good to say. What was the name of the city that we went to?
It's okay. Oh,
Kaywood.
now I can hear it.
Kaywood. Yes. So basically this entire section of the campaign was us trying to, or our plan to journey to the Kaywood to see what was going on with Garuda. Right. So we went through the jungle. Things happened with the tent. Things happened with Ellie in the mist. Christian will insert this section here. Or the section. Clip it. Okay, Christian. There you go. Have fun with that. So then we get taken by the centaur. No, he's not a centaur. He's a fawn. That seems right. He was a fawn? Satyr.
Something. He was something.
Listen, guys.
Satyr hater.
He had hooves. And he wasn't a tiefling because in all universes that Josh creates, tieflings don't have hooves for some reason. Calling you out, Josh.
He's an anti-Hoover.
He's an anti-Hoover. Anyway, we got led to Mother Matoya's house. I was unconscious so that I didn't attack my party. And Mother Matoya woke me up when we got there. And we did a one-shot in the middle of all of this, timey-wimey with Mother Matoya, but we're not going to discuss that. We're going to but I do have a question of everyone's. On Mother Matoya, what do we think of her? Is she someone we can trust? So maybe?
I have no idea.
Or maybe she's just, is she just, or is she just something out there with its own agenda? I mean, later on we find out that it's very rare for her to make an appearance to people.
Yeah, Becky definitely gets the sense that, based on what we know of her, she definitely has some ulterior motive. And it could be a good one, but we don't know what it is. Mother Matoya I feel like she really kind of kept a screen between us and her. And she was helpful, but to what ends, we don't know. So Becky is cautiously optimistic that she's an ally, but who's to say?
Oh, I think Milos is 100% this seems like a very nice older lady who can help us, and she is intellectual, and she knows what the fuck is going on. Was she the first person to identify us as, bringers of light?
That would have been the Grand Maester.
Oh, okay. But, she also was you're warriors of light. She obviously knows what's going on. She has more knowledge of the world than we do, and I feel like Milos is cool, someone else knows stuff that can help us. And I don't think he's worried about her at all, if she has ulterior motives, because as far as he knows, she's just a helpful lady. You know what I mean? So, because he gets, he has a nice evening with a ghost in her house, so he doesn't have any preconceived notions of her or any negative emotions of her. It's only positive.
I think the thing that really kind of turned Becky is that when Mother Matoya talked with Becky about how she got her powers, it's similar in a vein to how Becky has powers, that there was pact magic done. But Mother Matoya stole her powers from another pact holder. So Mother Matoya is not beholden to any contract, but she gets the benefits of it. And so I think it really soured Mother Matoya for her, thinking that, if Becky was just some rando that Mother Matoya needed her power from, like, she would easily just strip Becky of her power and imprison her in this weird maze of a house. And so it definitely gives her a sense of caution.
That brings me to lots of questions, honestly. One, Matt brought up the Warriors of Light title that we've received. We didn't talk about that in the last episode, but we don't even really know what Warriors of Light are at this point. And Becky got a special crystal that we all don't know about. None of us know about, because she got the Warrior of Darkness.
Oh.
Yeah, so, and I don't even know if I still have it in my notes, but, oh, yeah, no, that's something else.
Oh, it literally said Warrior of Light.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, when we had finished the fight with Titan, I remember, all the Warriors of Light, that we would soon be called, we were transported into some other space, and everyone was floating in front of this big blue crystal.
Oh, yep.
But Becky saw something else. She saw an indigo crystal, and it spoke to her in a different voice, and it almost seemed like this voice was that of, like, a sibling to whatever this blue crystal entity was, and that Becky was supposed to provide the role of some sort of balance to all this, and which really gets Becky thinking, because that was probably her first big agreement. That was even before Kate Sith approached her with Diabolos's offer. And so, along with a later offer, like, Becky has a growing list of people she owes favors to. And I don't even know where I'm going with this, but yeah, like, we got Warriors of Light early on from the Grand Maester after we were summoned in front of this crystal entity. And yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't know where we're going with this one, but
well, the next thing is that I have a question about with Mother Matoya, or I guess Matoya's home. We stayed there the night, and everybody got a visitor. And everyone's visitor, I think, was unique. Some were helpful. Some helped answer questions, or leave them with more questions, and some just, spun their bed around in circles and made their bed and threw their sheets in the fire. It was awkward. But tell me, about your visitor. What impression did that leave behind with your characters?
Utter horror.
Yeah.
I had the ghost of the lady, Mother Matoya, robbed of her powers. And all she would do is scream and scratch at the walls, trying to get out of her prison. And once Becky talked to Mother Matoya, the next day, and she realized that this was the ghost of that girl. I mean, I think that's really what hammered home, like, the fear of Mother Matoya. Like, she is not someone to be trifled with. And I think she has made just as many friends as she has made enemies.
Well, I had a nice evening with an old...
Yeah, lucky you.
Yeah, an old elvish man who was an expert in geomancy. And he gave me a pocket watch. We just sat and had tea. It was very pleasant. So I enjoyed it.
I feel like you're the only one who had a pleasant time.
I think I am.
Well, you know what?
Which is fine.
I don't think that's true. Asher.
Yeah, I think Asher's was
Asher was
chill.
visited by his grandmother.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marquise.
Yeah.
Marquise was visited by Marquise.
Yeah. Yeah, in the ongoing quest to figure out what the hell is going on, personally, yeah, that's
Would you call it introspection?
no,
Or
no,
just
yeah.
talking
So
to yourself.
It was someone else, but it was him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was it was probably, I think it was the first, yeah, that is the first time where we saw that there is at least one other entity involved in who Marquise is.
Right.
So, a follow-up question to this, if I might ask. Marquise, do you think he regards himself as the person that invaded this body? Or do you think he feels like he's kind of a combination of these two people, even though the soul that inhabited this body is out of it? I mean, is there like elements of that person's psyche or like their personal being that kind of integrated itself into Marquine's being?
Maybe, because I know that we sort of explored a little bit later on that the person who Marquise was before he became Marquise.
Yeah, the who you were before
Yeah.
you became the who you are now.
Maybe we should have a word for the before.
Can we get a flow chart, graphic design department?
Like maybe we should
You
have,
see,
like,
here's the graphic. Here's Marquise now, and this is Marquise before, and this is Marquise's before for this guy that was the before, and they were different, but now they're there. You see?
Yeah, I think it's possible that, you know, he may have just sort of combined them, or is just entirely someone new.
I think this is something that Ellie asked you.
Yes.
Were you an investigator, like the Marquise of the past, an investigator, or is that something he became because the Marquise he is now, the body he's inhabiting, was an investigator too?
Right. Well, and the thing, what's interesting so far is to me is that I don't even know who or what this person's occupation or what they did or who they were.
Marquise doesn't know anything about this original person.
There was nothing. He just woke up in this body after being dead. And was kind of just like, well, I guess I'll do the thing that I heard or was told before I woke up. And there was definitely some kind of like, well, hopefully, or maybe I can try and figure out what's going on along the way. But in that, who he is now, he does not consider himself to be at all the person that died. Which has been there's been a lot of interesting exploration into that kind of psyche, like for me personally, like exploring, because like, you know, the idea of like this person acknowledges that they had a past, you know, they had a past self, but also, you know, they're at a point where things have changed and they don't even, he doesn't even see himself as that person, and almost regards them as an entirely separate being.
Almost like a reincarnation, but you've kept all the memories of that past life.
Kind of.
It definitely poses the question, you know, what is the measure of a man? Like, what makes them them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think another thing that I think I remember Milos learning maybe a little bit about from Mother Matoya was more info about his horn. And I guess, what does he think about that? Like, what is, because he looked at a book, right, about, with pictures of other Hrothgar who had similar horns as you, and you'd never seen anyone like that before. So what does he think about, like, learning that?
I think it is fascinating to him, because he obviously doesn't know why he has horns, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just knows his dad does as well as he does. So it's hereditary, right? And learning that it could be like from fiends or beast kind or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is interested in learning more about that, because that is just like, whoa, I have this thing that I never knew about myself. And so I think it's just, it comes from a place of ignorance, of just, I have no idea what to think about this, so I have to think about it in some positive aspect, because how else am I supposed to think about it?
Benefit of the doubt.
Right, like, so I think he wants to know more, and he wants to find someone who can potentially teach him more. It sounds like Din knew more about it, at least some, so...
she knew about the creature types, right?
Right, like like some of them look similar to like a basilisk or something, which is a little concerning, that I might be related to like dangerous creatures, but also, I mean, Hrothgar are very dangerous, big, animalistic, at least they can be. So it's not super far-fetched that I'm from that lineage, but it's also not how we currently compose ourselves. So it's kind of like we used to do that, but that's not us anymore type of thing.
We rebranded.
But yeah, so it's a little scary, but interesting. And it's cool that Din was able to kind of shed some light on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that, I won't say it necessarily like drew them closer together as people, but I think he didn't have a lot to go off of with Din before that, and so I think he could potentially go to her with quick questions about like, oh, what possible creature name is this? I've never seen this creature before, so she could be like a useful fountain of knowledge for him to learn from.
And you bring up Din, and Paige isn't here, but I kind of want to know what everybody thinks of our little beast master who has a tendency to collect a lot of things. And at this point in the story, she hasn't yet. But just wait. She gets a lot of things.
Yeah, Wait, no, we fought the... we haven't fought the...
We haven't fought we haven't fought the marble yet.
No, that's shortly thereafter, Mother Matoya. But we're probably after the point of the story. No, wait. We haven't gotten to the point where Becky Blaze gets eaten.
Nobody eats Becky Blaze.
An Ochu.
Yes, the Ochu that she catches.
Yep, she hasn't caught that yet.
Yep. I think Becky I mean, I think this was a different question, but
Yeah.
we can tackle it now.
I do specifically for Becky, everyone can kind of tell that Becky doesn't like Din.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to tell, right? And Din, I think, doesn't super like Becky either. Like, I feel like they have, like, this almost like cats meeting each other for the first time kind of
yes
animosity towards each other.
Yeah, so spoilers, Becky turns out she is a Gria, even though you initially met her without her wings. And for a while she was even going by an Aura because she felt like she looked more like an Aura, and she didn't really understand her place in life yet. But she is a Gria, but she has a sordid past with the Gria tribe that she grew up with. So seeing another one out here, it's everyone else it's easy to make friendships with, but with Din it is just an uphill battle. Becky's trust level, like with everyone else, was kind of like null, but for Din it was much lower than that just because of her background. And it's one of those situations you can't. Din isn't at fault by any means, but you can't change Becky's experience with other Gria. And I think over time Becky has been warming up to Din, but Din is also she comes off a little, I don't know, almost like she's trying to exude this tough exterior, and for sure she is like a tough fighter in person, but she
I feel like Din has an abrasive personality, but underneath that's not it. Like, you can see Ellie and Din have a different way of interacting that you can tell that Din isn't as abrasive as she comes off as, but also Ellie has that effect on people in the party.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think deep down Becky would like a better relationship with Din, because I think deep down Becky always wanted a close personal relationship with someone of her own type. But it's just it's too hard, and it creates too many bad memories. So yeah, I think as far as Din with her Peacemaster abilities, I think Becky recognizes that there's a certain amount of skill and craft to catching and taming these wild creatures. So I think she has respect for who Din is and what she does. Although I think she does think she's a little dumb at times because she kind of jumps into a situation without thinking it through.
I love that Paige decided that Din couldn't read. And she sits there and she lets Ellie read her these Marquise books every night.
I really like that dynamic.
I love that dynamic. So after Mother Montoya's house, we leave. She sets us on a path that leads us directly to Ellie's home, which is really just a big tree in a clearing, with a house in the branches, and a temple to Garuda in the trunk, and a really big garden that is now unfortunately dead and corrupted because something happened here. Everything's looks weird. And we see Ellie's mom at the base of the tree, unconscious, and with some magic and whatever, stuff. We are able to get her to wake back up. We take her back up to the house, and she tells us a couple of things. One, they were attacked by Ochus and somebody in a mask with a red mask. And two, Asher's mom was there with her and led them away. And that changes the course of our quest. We've discovered that Asher didn't think, and Eric's not here, but I know he was stunned that his mother was here and alive. Like, Asher was stunned that his mom would be here. And also, we were both a little stunned that our moms knew each other. And then we go towards this temple that Ellie says, well, I was told never to go near it because it's kind of bad. Let's go. And that's when we fight the Ochus. And, you know, my favorite tagline, nobody eats Becky Blaze, occurs.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess my question about all of this, when we get to the temple, specifically the runes, is this is where we meet Asher's mom, and she's in this, like, suspension bubble in this door thing. Like, what is everybody's thoughts on the situation? What's going on? Like, you've met moms now. The meeting of the moms, basically, at this point. And also, I feel like along this timeline, somewhere around here, we also learned that Asher is, in fact, half Vieira as well.
Oh,
which is also another thing that we've learned. So I guess opinions, thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, the ruins was really a great moment of role playing, I think, for us, and especially for Eric and his character Asher. You know, just all those interconnected threads just coming together, and exploring these ancient ruins that, like, Josh gave us, like, a written out history of the region and of the world, and the ruins of Baron were nowhere on that fucking map.
Right.
And so it was this hidden gem of knowledge and items and just lore, and to find Asher's mom hidden in amongst those, just perfect.
Good.
And the fact that we were able to eventually free her, and her and Asher had this tremendous heart-to-heart, just this gut-wrenching, like, realization that she had missed so much time of her son's life, and that, like, Asher has, like, a second chance at having, like, a whole family. It was gold.
It was great. It's great. Plus, we got a huge loot drop. I mean, that is we found stuff everywhere, and so much loot. And then we went into, like, gosh, Baron. Baron was a massive place. I wish we could have stayed there and investigated forever. I think.
I want to go back.
I think that we missed a lot. We know that we missed a summon temple.
Yeah.
We saw. Asher and Ellie witnessed visions of the past there, like a big meteor that hit, an army that was attacking. We went into what I think must have been a museum at the time. We have this weird airship. Asher got this really cool Dark Knight armor. We've got really interesting weapons from there. I mean, which is a massive amount of knowledge. And, you know, we got to meet Mr. Old Red Mask Face himself. So, my question about the runes overall, of the whole runes, is we learned a lot about the past of Baron. And it's got to come up again, right? It's got to, right? So, how do we think that these things that we learned in Baron about the past are going to play into the story of the present that we're going through right now?
I think it's going to be a foreshadowing of another calamity.
I mean,
I mean, it already
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it definitely is. That was one of the last calamities that happened, I think.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we're still learning about Baron from the stuff we took because Becky has 3 tomes of the history of Baron, and she also has this little magic bracelet which shows her an image of some stories of Baron and the fact that they have this like stolen Aeon crystal and there's much more to be uncovered in this
later
area.
on.
And
I summon Ellie summons the summoner from Baron. She doesn't realize it at the time, but later on she realizes that she's summoning people, like past people. And that was a massive place to go.
Yeah.
Plus, we got some weird mushrooms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that.
But to answer your question, I don't see how Baron can't play into the future of this campaign. And, like, I think I already said it, Becky definitely wants to go back because there is so much to be gained from Baron. Granted, we are probably on a time scale. Like
Ellie wants to go back because we found out there might have been a summon there that we missed. One that had been lost.
Yeah, I think we will have to go back. I think there is sort of an order to things here, and I've got this weird feeling that was sort of like an introduction and like kind of like a tease of maybe towards the end of the journey, because it to me, I get that feeling because it's the only place where we've seen the remnants of a past calamity, and it's it is that foreshadowing sort of location, so it makes it feel like the kind of place where we will end up here, but probably much later. And that will be like a very, because we know it's massive, right?
It's a whole city. We didn't even explore a small section of it.
I think there's going to be an entire arc just around that, and exploring and figuring out like, okay, well, what happened before, and while we're here, can we actually stop this?
Right.
So also while we were in Baron was the second time Ellie had a weird summon. And this one harmed everyone. So
it was a big hurt.
It was a big hurt.
I mean, we needed it, right? That's when Ace summoned like the tentacle monster thing, right?
What was it? Maximum damage?
Maximum damage. Maximum violence. Maximum violence.
Yes. It's always violence.
I'm interested in how Ellie's party views her after they see, think of when you meet her in the city and she can barely summon Poppy, and she can't really do it successfully most of the time, right? And then you get to this point and she summons this girl who drops a meteor on everyone, and she just desolates everything. Like, what happened? Where did we get from A to B here?
I think Becky's definitely like, damn girl, get your shit together. I don't think there is any more to be said than that.
Also, in Baron, we encountered some more Warrior of Light stuff. We had to battle our inner demons a little, or something. I know Ellie had to deal with Reese, but it wasn't really Reese.
Oh, the
trial that we did. Yeah, thoughts on that? Mostly for my memory. But it was important. It was important towards like our characters' growth as warriors of light, I think.
Yeah, I think it just forced us to kind of face our demons, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Like I know Boric came out for me because he's my arch enemy, and same thing with Ashay, which is Din's.
Mhm.
I think it was mostly just like these are your past demons that you have to face before you can really get
You
get
have
to the next step.
move past your
Yeah.
past.
I mean,
It's not very poetic, but yeah,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it was. Again, Baron was just a wonderful ground of role play.
Mm-hmm.
Because Josh really threw us into it where we were able to kind of confront those like demons of our backstory, and for like Becky, who was very secretive. I think she was a little like almost embarrassed that the visage of the Gria woman came up, because she doesn't like to talk about her past. If anything, she'd like to forget about it, at least for right now. And so, I think it was really tough on her.
Mm-hmm. So after we saved Asher's mom, we learned about some things with Asher's backstory, like the green word and his ability to hear it and make materia, which is very, very interesting to me. And we went back to Ellie's home so that we could remove the corruption that was infecting her mom. And then, in Ellie fashion, she explained to them literally everything that we have encountered along the way to that point, and blew their little VR minds. And we asked, or maybe she volunteered, Asher's mom to help us go to the K-Wood, in hopes that this gauntlet that she had could help remove corruption from Garuda without us needing to sacrifice somebody into the crystal. Because up until that point, we really didn't have a game plan on what to do if Garuda was already corrupted. And that was a problem. So we set out towards the K-Wood, and while one of the nights we were resting, Ellie decided, hey, I found this doorknob, and I want to see, jokingly, if I put it on a tree, if it'll just become a door, because magic. And you know what it did, guys? It did. And inside that door was a djinn. What did you guys think of the djinn? Like, that was not something I was expecting to happen at all.
No. Sappho the Bold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was kind of way out in left field, but I really liked it. Like, especially because it tied into my story.
Yeah, I do want to know, what does Milos think about that djinn and her connection to his family? Like, is that something he imagined would exist?
No, I mean, it makes sense for the setting, right?
Right.
Like, but I don't think he had heard of that before.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just completely like a shock to him, because it was just so long ago that it's just not. It probably isn't something super talked about that like Jin used to help guard the queens. So it's just a neat little, oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, she seemed cool.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting story element, me, Travis, because I guess I feel like Milos doesn't talk a lot about his past or about his people.
No.
And so, like, this was like a surprise element just sprinkled in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like as a player, it really fleshed out like the culture of the Rothgar. For Becky, I think this was kind of like a welcome, fun intervention where there's this like colorful other place that they all got sucked into. She was apprehensive at first, but like I think it was a neat little mystery, especially after the fact that Becky was the one who was able to open or figure out the instructions for the vase that was holding the gin in. So, I think to her it was just an interesting exercise.
Right. Ellie loved it. Ellie loved everything about it. It's one of those things that happen in fantasy books, right? That just these magical things, these magical creatures that exist that grant wishes or help protect people or something like it's just fascinating to her. Everything that happens is a new experience for her, and she loves everything about it. Well, that does make me question. Travis brought up Milos and not talking about his family, and I don't know if any of the characters talk about their family at all besides Asher and Ellie. I don't know if anyone else has brought up their family.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering, like, we Travis has touched about why Becky doesn't bring up his family, right? But Milos seemingly had a decent childhood. Like, he hasn't said anything negative about his life, so why doesn't he ever want to bring up his family? Besides the fact that his aunt's a queen, he throws that out like it's free candy.
Well, I mean, that had to be pulled out of him,
Yeah.
right? Like, initially, it was the jeweler in the city that recognized Milos as being part of the royal family. Because I didn't tell you guys anything.
Nope, the jeweler in the city brought it out for us.
Yep. Because it's another part of Milos' journey is that he wants to make it on his own without the clout of being part of the royal family. And so the fact that you guys all know, it makes it harder for him to see himself not as part of the royal family instead of just his own person and being able to make it on his own type of thing. So it's not like he's embarrassed necessarily. It's just his whole life has been in the shadow of his aunt, basically. Like, everyone knew, obviously, that his aunt was the queen. So either everything was handed to him because he's royalty, or people ridiculed him because he's royalty. So it's easier to not involve anything with his family and just be his own person than it is to be like, hey, guess what? I'm royalty. You should treat me like such. Because that's just not how he sees the world. He would rather gain his own abilities, and then I'm also part of royalty. But he's not even in succession for the throne. Like, that's not how Hrothgar worked. Like, I'm part of the royal family because I'm related to my aunt, but I can never be queen or king or anything like that. That's not, unless there's...
You can't be queen.
Right, like,
okay.
I couldn't take over for my aunt, because that's just not how it works. At least we've never had a king. It's only ever been queens before. So that's not really on his mind of, I could become the next ruler. It's, I'm always going to be related to the ruler unless she dies, essentially. Either in combat or old age. So.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because that was an observation that I had kind of noticed. Where Milos, like, he won't volunteer that information, but if asked about it, he seems to be okay with talking about what was asked, but won't necessarily expand more than is necessary.
Right. And I think it goes back to he's used to people knowing about it, and so it's not common for him to have to explain, like, I'm part of the royal family, like, because he grew up with everybody knowing that already. So it's not like, it's like talking to someone who, I don't know, has a Minnesota accent. Like, you can just tell they're from Minnesota just by talking to them. But if you've never heard of a Minnesota accent, you don't know they have a Minnesota accent, right? So.
Well, after we met Sappho, we ran into good old-fashioned Ace again. And, well, he suck a lady at us who threw balls at us. Poison balls.
Yep.
Yep. Combat. That was fun.
Poison balls.
Poison balls. We also learned, I think, shortly thereafter that because Joker came. Joker was there before Ace showed up and left when Ace showed up, and we were like, "Joke, why didn't you help us?" And shortly thereafter, we discovered that they are brothers, related siblings.
I don't know if they're directly
I
related.
don't know
or
if it's
more like a fraternity.
Yeah, I don't know if
but,
that's what I think. I don't think it's brothers like they are related. I think it's brothers like they used to be part of the same sect or organization.
Definitely a cult.
Right.
Something like that.
Because there's like 12 of them, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And I think we also learned around that time that they can't harm each other, or maybe we learned that shortly after. But what do we think about Ace? Because right now he's kind of the thorn in our side, the Strahd peeking over our shoulder, as it were. So what do we think about Ace? Because we've met him a couple of times at this point, and we will meet him again very shortly after this point too.
Not a fan. Yeah. Just to put it simple, right? I think for Marquise, this person is obviously going to be a ongoing problem. Mm-hmm. So it's someone that he knows we won't be able to deal with for some time, but the sooner the better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Ace is a very, I would say he's kind of a classic antagonist, right? Like, he's going to do everything in his power to just stop us from reaching our goal. He's a speed bump. And, I mean, Joker seems to be trying to slow him down at least so that we have a fighting chance. But, I mean, as far as both of them, I mean, Joker seems to be on our side, but we don't know his true motivations. I mean, we know what he's told us, but, in the end of the day, like, can we really trust him as much as we trust Ace? Like,
right, and I think around this time we also learned some information regarding both Ace and Joker that, maybe that's later, about their summons.
This is it.
This is the time. Before Ace attacked us, Joker had actually had a heart-to-heart with us about the history of him and his brother and their whole group and how they had gained control of these summons,
the Espers,
and gained
right?
their powers, and
or not, maybe they won't call them Espers.
Yeah, the Espers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I wrote down like Joker.
They're like the reverse of the reverse side, the other side of the coin of what the Aeons are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we learn even more about that later on too, but it is interesting. We are learning so much about summons and about the Aeons and about the primals that even Ellie didn't know. So it is like the world is changing in our eyes almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So after all that happens, we finally make it to the Cavewood. And that is where we will end this episode. We will be back next week with the follow-up, the conclusion, I think, too. And we'll be all caught up with where we are at in the story. So join us then for that. And, follow us on all the things. If it's a social media, we have it. Probably.
Unless it's like one of those weird ones.
We don't have Google Plus. Does that still exist?
No.
We don't have that one, if it still exists. We don't have a LinkedIn.
It's dead, Jim.
I know MySpace exists, but that's for bands, and I'm not musically inclined. So we don't have all those either. But everywhere else. Yeah, thanks for watching. I am still not your DM, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.